Hello, YouTube. This is Jen Surai 1, and with me today is Evan Nova 95
Hello?
and Ready 4.
He's not here.
Oh, me. I'm sorry. Ah. Okay, not here in my ear. Derp, moving on. Anywho, today we are doing a Fanalysis Lite episode where we're actually going to be basically answering comments, but very specific comments. We're going to be going through some of the versus video matchup requests that we've received from our subscribers, but specifically calling out ones that are not worth doing, but there are still interesting points about them that merit discussion, and we're using this time here to address them.
Yep. So we got a whole list right here, so we're going to go through several of them, starting off with a comment from Brett Jackson, who actually left a very huge list. We appreciate it when people leave us lists because it gives us a lot to look forward to. However, there's one in particular that we wish to discuss.
Darth Maul versus Mace Windu. Now, I can definitely see why people would be interested in this matchup because they are the two most prominently featured Form 7 masters. It's like classical Juyo versus the new Vapad. It's kind of interesting. However, the problem is it's just not really worth doing because the power differential between them is just so extreme. Like, what would be
Mace Windu basically has every advantage. More experienced, arguably more skilled, even if you consider all the training Maul did, more powerful in the Force, wiser, and just an all-around superior combatant. And then you have to consider the Vapad effect with Darth Maul's rage, and it's a pretty done deal.
Yeah. To be fair, Maul would definitely be able to put up a fight against Windu, but what we're looking at is something more like Mace Windu's fight with Ventress in the Jedi Mace Windu comic, where Ventress put up a fight against Windu, but she couldn't win and ultimately had to flee for her life because holy fuck, it's Windu. Yeah. So
don't underestimate Windu.
Yeah, that's about as well as Maul would contend. He wouldn't die instantly, which is an achievement, and I would credit him with definitely being able to escape, but he can't win.
No.
So,
all right, so that's good with that one. The next one comes from Austin Ames, who requested Pong Krell versus Darth Vader. Yeah. This one, I don't really understand why anyone would even question this. Pong Krell really doesn't have much of anything going for him. In fact, we've never even seen him in a duel.
I will say Pong Krell does have a few logistical advantages just based on the fact that he's a basilisk, which means that, superhuman alien, so he can actually match Vader's strength. So would be able to give him some problems on a pure practical level because Vader's biggest problem is taking on fighters who match his strength. So, but end of the day, it's like he's just not nearly as powerful. It's like if he gives Vader too much grief, Vader will just freaking ragdoll him with telekinesis. Like Pong Krell, he is powerful, but his most powerful demonstration that we saw, the Force Wave where he scattered all the clone troopers, was
against clone troopers.
Yeah, visually impressive, but
logistically not so much.
Yeah, it's like how well can he contend with another Force wielder's TK barrier? So, frankly, we don't see anything from him that we don't also see from, say, Luminara Unduli.
Yeah, exactly. So there's really, again, he could definitely put up a challenge, but at the end of the day, it's nothing Vader hasn't dealt with before and can't deal with. So it's really just a pretty done deal.
Yeah, because, so few people will really understand just how dangerous Vader is because of his cybernetic enhancements. It's like, yes, he's lost out on his agility and dexterity, but his resiliency and strength are just so utterly ridiculous that the trade-off is worth it.
Yeah, the guy's literally strong enough to tear the door off a starship.
All of the bloody his respirator and implants make him damn near impossible to kill. It's like, this guy has survived severe blunt force trauma, impalement with a lightsaber, having his face smashed against an energy shield, and every single time he just gets back up and keeps fighting. the only ways to kill this guy are to stab him right through the center of the chest, taking out that control panel and a bunch of his implants, decapitating him, because obviously, or cleaving him in half.
Mm-hmm.
Probably cleaving him in half vertically, because horizontally, again, you could make an argument for his
there's a chance he could survive.
Yeah. He's already on life support. Unless it's an immediately fatal wound that you can't survive no matter what, Vader's probably going to keep on chugging. Like, holy fuck, he's a beast.
Total beast. So even if Pong Krell managed to get a hit, who cares?
Yeah,
who cares? It would mean nothing.
Good luck hitting anything that isn't already an add-on, because all of his limbs are already disposable prosthetics.
So rest in peace, Pong Krell. So that one's pretty obvious. Yeah. Next one is rather interesting. Comes from Gemini Earth Snake. Well, that's one hell of a name. That's actually pretty awesome. Darth Plagueis versus Qui-Gon Jinn. And he asks, his interest in this peaks from the idea that they both lived in the same era and met at one point. So this one's definitely interesting from a story perspective, given their respective personalities, especially when we consider the interaction they did have in the Plagueis novel. But in terms of a fight,
Qui-Gon Jinn would not die instantly.
No, of course not. In fact, he is easily a better lightsaber duelist and martial artist. I will not question that for a second. But would it be enough to circumvent Plagueis' tactical sensibilities and force power?
Not really, because the thing is that Plagueis is, as a martial artist, I would describe him as Darth Maul light. He's not as good as Darth Maul, but he's got the exact same tactics and overall function. He basically functions like that, and he's a way more powerful force wielder. So, end of the day, it's like lightning, telekinesis, or midichlorian manipulation. I'll just give you cancer.
Oh God, yeah. I think if maybe Qui-Gon opened with saber combat and really hammered him like as fast as he possibly can, as quick as he possibly could, I think he may have a chance. But overall, no, Plagueis is just too powerful for him.
But what makes this matchup so interesting is, like you said, the story perspective. Yeah, it's like they did meet and they did discuss things, but what would it be like if they met and discussed things without the deception getting in the way? Qui-Gon knows who and what Plagueis is and is, I guess, hashing it out. Like, where would that discussion go? Because it's intriguing, because they're almost exact opposites in every conceivable way. Because
seriously, their approach to the Force, their approach to management, their approach to
life.
Exactly. They couldn't be more different, which does make the meeting very interesting from that perspective. Just not so much, unfortunately, in terms of combat.
Because, well, Qui-Gon's good, but he's good but not powerful, which is the problem. You need to be powerful to engage someone like Plagueis.
Or at the very least, be able to subvert him in some way. And unfortunately, Qui-Gon doesn't have the technical know-how that someone like Obi-Wan could. So he just doesn't have that going for him. So at the end of the day, he just can't win. It's pretty obvious. But interesting from that perspective still. Yep. All right, so the next one comes from LJ Jack, who requests
Elijah. It's Elijah Jack.
Oh, sorry, it's a little blurry on my screen.
Yeah.
My mistake. The next one comes from Elijah Jack, who requested Darth Maul versus Darth Zana. A lot of people pair up the saber staff users, don't they?
They really do like to do that. Now, the big reason why this fight just isn't much of a fight is because Maul has no way of dealing with Zana's spells of fear and madness. Again, it's just the power differential. And the fact that Maul has given himself completely over to the dark side, well, he's actually got a lot of insecurities and fears, which is stuff that really came to the fore in his portrayal in TCW, which is the one aspect of that version of the character I like. They actually, made it so his
full force with the insanity.
Yeah, it's like he was a basket case. And the thing is but the thing is that all of that stuff is stuff that was always inside of him. It just took that defeat at the hands of Kenobi to completely break his composure and make all of that come out. Zonica doesn't need to defeat him that completely. She just needs to speak an incantation and Next thing you know, it's Daniel Radcliffe lying on the floor saying, "You've lost, old man."
Yeah, with a bunch of Kenobi wraiths dancing around him.
Yeah.
It'd be terrible. TCW Mall, Rebels Mall, doesn't matter. You get the same result no matter what.
Even
I
Darth
do
Maul.
think think Phantom Menace Mall, I think it would be more difficult for Zana to break his composure, but I still think she could do it.
Yeah, because like I said, all of that insecurity was always inside of there. It was just held back by Maul's discipline, which was broken by his defeat. Well, the thing is that would Zana be able to break his discipline? Well, yeah, probably by using the emotions that are the source of his power against him. Like those spells of fear and madness were created by the ancient Sith. The Sith who from before the Great Hyperspace War, when the Sith Empire was isolated in the far reaches of space and had no contact with anyone else. So what were those spells designed to combat? Other Sith Lords. They attack Sith Lords by attacking the source of their power, their emotions, their pain, their fear, their anger. All the stuff that they draw their power from is now turned against them and used to overwhelm them. Same effect comes into play here.
Exactly. He would just be overwhelmed. So it just makes the outcome too obvious.
That being said, the martial arts discussion is still interesting because it's completely reversed. This time it's Maul who holds all the cards. But the problem is that despite his massive advantage as a duelist, he just wouldn't be able to overwhelm her quickly enough to prevent her from using the spells because, well, the thing is that the one thing Zana's consistently pulled off is that no matter how bad things get, she's always been able to create an opening to break out the spells. The problem, what holds her back is just a question of how effective they are or whether or not they're applicable.
Exactly. He just wouldn't be able to overwhelm her in time.
Yeah.
But still interesting.
Yep.
Okay, next up comes from Loskeni, who requested Arca Jeth versus Darth Bandhan.
Not much of a matchup because power
No, it really isn't.
It's like Arca Jeth was basically built up as his era's Mace Windu, whereas Darth Bandhan, it's like
Ventress level, if that.
Yeah, it's like Bandhan is definitely built up as a prodigal talent. When you read up on his backstory, he was the top student at the Sith Academy. But we're like talking like this is like pitting Sirac fresh out of the Sith Academy against Mace Windu. It's like, yeah, Sirac's good. Yeah. He could probably fuck up some knights or even some low-level masters, but he's not taking on a council master.
No, and it would be overwhelmed.
That's what Arca Jeth is. This isn't much of a fight, so
really no. So not really worth pursuing.
Yes.
Next comment comes from a guy named Evan, a name I really appreciate. Good man. Again, lots of requests here, but the one in particular, well, there's several on this one we'd actually like to talk about, right, Connor?
Yes. Most of these requests are actually very good, and I really like them. Darth Malgus versus Deepa Balaba. There's something there. That might be worth, that's definitely worth going for. And Anya Kuro versus Count Dooku. Ooh, I've been toying with that one for years.
That'd be a fun one.
Sitting on it. But the two I wanted to call out were Asherad Het versus TCW Maul and Darth Vectivus versus Master Fei. It's Asherad Het, so renowned Jedi Knight during the Clone Wars, became Darth Krayt. However, it's Asherad during the Clone Wars. He's definitely a good fighter, but there's not really anything. He's never really demonstrated anything that puts him out of the ordinary. It's like I'd put him on the level with someone like Luminara Unduli. Or Quinlan Voss.
More or less, yeah. I mean, his most impressive feat in that particular era was disarming Padawan Anakin without a lightsaber, which is impressive. I don't think someone should just discount that. But still, he really just hasn't demonstrated anything that puts him on the level with someone like Maul, especially in his TCW incarnation.
Yeah, it's like TCW Maul. He's not as intelligent in a tactical sense because he's so unstable, but in a way that does make him more dangerous in other ways. He's a lot more inclined to just fling himself at you like a bloodthirsty maniac. And as a duelist, he just outclasses him. Asherad Het could definitely contend because of the dual blades, but it'd be more like Well, it would kind of be like just Anakin just rushing Dooku with the twin blades in Attack of the Clones. It's a workaround that allows him, that makes up for the skill differential, but it's just not enough. Especially given that Maul himself is also a Jar Kai master, he's just not carrying an extra blade right now.
Exactly. He's just not bringing anything to the table that he couldn't deal with. So at the end of the day, Maul's just better.
Yeah, it's like Asherad definitely has greater discipline, and as we see with him coming into his own as Darth Krayt, he's got more potential. But DCW Maul at this stage is, he's just on a higher level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
although he does get the Darksaber eventually too, which does give him 2 blades actually, so that makes him even more of a threat.
That just completely screws Asherad because now he has no advantage whatsoever. He's contending with a guy who's better than him on his own level.
Yeah. Not fun times for him.
That being said, it's like, they both got that foundation in Nyman, so another little commonality there, but end of the day, it's like the skill differential is just too substantial.
We will say this, though. Darth Krayt destroys TCW Maul.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
So the other matchup on this list is Darth Vectivus versus Master Fei. And I think it's interesting in the sense that they probably are equally powerful because Vectivus was a Rule of 2 Sith Lord. They did maintain a very high standard of training. And we do know that Vectivus pioneered his own form of a Force illusion. However, we just don't know enough about Vectivus. We don't know anything.
How he fights, what his weaponry was, how he conducted himself, who he fought, nothing. I mean, how could we possibly do this?
Yeah, it's like when we're discussing, say, Darth Tenebrous, we can make an argument for him being similar to Plagueis, who's similar to Sidious, who's similar to Maul. So they fit into that same sort of fighter archetype. But Vectivus, he exists closer to Bane's side of things.
Yeah,
so
that's decades of development and change.
Centuries.
Centuries.
Yeah.
So who knows how he could have operated?
Yeah, it's like we don't know anything about him. And as for Master Fei,
similarly obscure.
What she demonstrates is really goddamn impressive. She is ridiculously powerful. It's like everyone basically said that if she hadn't been killed, she probably would have lived forever. Like she is the Star Wars universe's answer to Galadriel. Problem is that we still don't know enough about her. We don't know her full range of capabilities. We don't know. It's like we never see her say her telekinetic barrier demonstrated. She specifically doesn't carry a lightsaber. So she's a pure Force duelist. It's like we don't see if she's capable of defending against Force lightning. We don't see it's like she overwhelmed Ventress with telepathy, but could she, say, overwhelm Palpatine with telepathy? I don't know. Maybe.
Who knows? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
It's entirely up in the air. So at the end of the day, we can't make a real valid judgment on this one way or the other.
Because we don't know anything about either of these people.
If we were to do this, it would require a ridiculous amount of assumptions, and it really just wouldn't be a solid verdict one way or the other.
That being said, it's still a very creative and an interesting matchup and definitely worth discussing, but there's just not enough here to make a video, especially given that we only have one image of Vectivus and it doesn't even show his face.
Yeah, it just doing this with his hood. It's like, what's he doing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Something. Well, the next one.
But I do want to reinforce this point. Most of the matchups on this list are actually very good. It's just these two that, just don't really add up.
Yeah, exactly. Next one comes from Morten Urvesen, who requested Tulak Horde versus Darth Sidious. Oh, Tulak Horde. Tulak Horde.
Firstly, we don't know enough about Tulak Horde. All we have is his reputation as an amazing swordsman and a little bit of information on his political machinations as a Sith Lord within the old Empire. But we don't know anything about his powers. And the other thing is, just a random personal commentary on Tulak Horde. When Tulak Horde was first described, I was basically picturing his era's answer to Dooku. a super slippery, subversive, dexterity-based fighter. So you have no idea how disappointed I was when his armor was unveiled in the Old Republic, and he was basically just turned into Vader Lite.
It doesn't even look very good.
Yeah,
I never liked that design. Yeah,
it disappoints me. And
very disappointing. And then you put someone who we know nothing about against the most powerful Sith Lord in history.
Yeah.
Is it any wonder why we couldn't do this?
Yeah. Like, there are definitely a lot of other matchups where you could probably get the same sort of great swordsman versus great force wielder vibe with Darth Sidious. But Tulak Horde just isn't the guy because there just isn't enough information, which disappoints me. I'd love to use this guy. It's like, oh my God, he's renowned as one of the greatest swordsmen in galactic history because, well, speculation, but he was probably his era's reigning master of Makashi. Master of Makashi during the 100-Year Darkness, which I think we can all agree was probably Makashi's true heyday. And I'd love to use him, but we got no info. And
exactly. So there's just nothing we could do. We'd love to do this if it were possible, but unfortunately we can't. Yeah.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, they really missed out on the opportunity to give him more development in SWTOR, didn't they? Because I remember they were really hyping up his level, and then we learned next to nothing about him. And I'm like, really? Such a disappointment. But then again, that game disappoints in many ways. But we won't get into that here. Yes. Last up comes from El Trio 2, who requested Vindican versus Plo Koon, and he specifically titles it Battle of the Serviceable. That's offensive. Reddy in particular does not like this.
Yeah. The thing is that you're selling Plo Koon. You're selling Plo Koon way short. He's like one of the great masters on par with Obi Kenobi and Shaak Ti. Vindican's not bad, but that's all he is not bad.
Yeah. Putting him up against Plo Koon is almost insulting.
I'll concede that Vindican could probably put up a fight against Plo Koon. He wouldn't be overwhelmed instantly, but end of the day, he's just not packing enough.
He really isn't.
Yeah, the problem with Vindican is that his greatest strength and weakness is his consistency. It's like he can maintain a consistent performance level against anyone he's facing. The problem is that it means he's not changing up his approach, which is just death against a swordsman like Plo Koon.
Yeah, you need to be able to change up your approach in order to subvert him. Yeah. It's like the only real chance you got, unless you're massively more powerful, of course, but we won't get into that either, which Vindican isn't. In fact, I would even argue that he's less powerful. Most definitely, in fact.
Yeah. It's like Vindican's not bad. He's definitely a contender. It's like I would consider him like a true master level Sith Lord, but he's not like all-time great Jedi Council master level. It's like he's like, frankly, based on everything we know about him, he was frankly more of a politician than a warrior anyway. It's like, sure, he trained Malgus, but it's like he trained Malgus after Malgus got out of the academy. So at that point, Malgus was already a fully trained combatant and was racking up most of his experience as Vindican's enforcer. So I could picture them sparring, but as far as the training goes, it's like Vindican probably had way more to do with Malgus's development as a force wielder than he did with Malgus's growth as a swordsman.
Speculation, but it's likely, given their characters. So, at the end of the day, Vindican just can't really bring anything to Plo Koon, and it's just not that interesting.
He can pressure him, but he can't overcome him.
Exactly.
And calling Plo Koon serviceable is just... We're sorry, El Trio 2, but serviceable? Really?
Yeah. Come on, man. Come on. Well, that wraps up all of the suggestions that we're going to cover today. We will, if you like this, we do intend to do more of these. So leave some requests and you might be able to be featured here. Well, that wraps up our little Fanalysis for these matches. Thanks to everyone who's submitted. Connor, any closing thoughts?
No, that's about it. I think it's just going to be goodbye, YouTube. Jenserai1 signing off.
Evan Nova 95, we hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys later.